As the first story begins, a police car approaches with its siren blaring, prompting Hoon to quickly hide some packets. Officer Park walks up and asks if he's been night fishing, to which Hoon says he's just returning. Park mentions reports of wild animals in the area, and then, introducing himself, he asks for his license. Hoon complies, and while checking it, Park hears a radio alert about a missing woman in her 20s. He tries to glance inside the car, but eventually thanks Hoon for his cooperation and lets him go. Hoon drives away and receives a call from his wife, asking why he hasn't returned home yet. He tells her to stop nagging and claims that he was in an accident. As his wife continues to nag, he becomes increasingly frustrated and accidentally drops his lighter. Suddenly, a deer appears in front of the car, forcing him to slam on the brakes. Then, he hears a high-pitched, eerie sound and ends the call in irritation. He then notices a handprint on the windshield and recalls Officer Park touching the car earlier, but when the wipers fail to remove it, he cleans it from the inside, and it shockingly wipes away. More handprints appear on the window glass, but he dismisses them, thinking he's just imagining things, and he drives away from the tunnel. After a while, he pulls over again, realizing he's deviated from the route. He opens the trunk, revealing a blood-stained bag inside. He then spots a strand of hair protruding, so he immediately grabs a knife and slices it off. He drives off again, following the map, which tells him to go straight until further notice. But he sees something inside the tunnel that terrifies him. Moving forward, he passes by a girl, and suddenly, handprints appear on his windshield, making him slam the brakes. Frightened, he gets out of the car and opens the trunk again. He grabs a hammer and begins hitting the bag with a hammer, shouting, "Did you curse me?" But when he opens the bag, he's shocked to find it empty. Before he can make sense of anything, he hears a noise and notices a girl's dead body inside a nearby electrical box. Suddenly, a light bursts, and the corpse slowly lifts its head. But when Hoon looks up, the body is lying on the road. Terrified, Hoon asks what she wants from him, saying she shouldn't have jumped out like a deer. He quickly rushes back into his car, but the gear is stuck and he can't drive. That's when he realizes the girl is sitting in the back seat. Panicking, he turns around and the girl attacks him with a hammer, hitting him repeatedly until he dies.
Comment. Subscribe to Recaps Horror.
At the start of the next story, Soo Jin attends the funeral of her former classmate, Yoon Ji, who died by suicide after jumping from a balcony. A friend mentions that everyone from their third-year class is present except Ha-Yoon-ju. Hearing the name, Soo Jin recalls disliking the smell of Ha-Yoon-ju's hair during a school retreat, and her friend agrees, but Soo Jin dismisses it, saying, "Let's not talk about the past," and mentions she still needs to finish unpacking. Later, at the parking lot, she notices a woman in a red dress, but decides to ignore her and walks away. However, when she glances back, the woman is still standing there. Next, Soo Jin meets her neighbor and tells her that she just moved in next door. She gives her a cake, which the neighbor gladly accepts. Soo Jin then asks if she's seen a woman in a red dress in the parking lot, mentioning that she's already seen her 3 or 4 times. But the neighbor says she hasn't seen anyone wearing red recently. Soo Jin starts walking toward her apartment, but suddenly stops when she hears footsteps behind her, and as she turns around, she sees the woman in red standing there. Terrified, Soo Jin quickly unlocks her apartment door and rushes inside. Curious and shaken, she checks the screen on her video intercom, only for the woman to suddenly appear, but she jolts awake, realizing it was all just a nightmare. Just then, she receives a call from Director Kim, who asks if the presentation is coming along well. She assures him that it is, and he tells her he's counting on her. Soo Jin settles down to work on her computer, but her attention is drawn to her high school yearbook. She opens it and begins flipping through the pages, and when she comes across Hyunju's photo, she pauses, thinking, could it be her? The next day, in the parking lot, Soo Jin sees the woman in red again, but this time she decides to confront her and asks, "What's wrong with you?" When the woman stays silent, Soo Jin walks toward her, but a car passes by, and the woman vanishes, leaving Soo Jin in shock. Later, Soo Jin asks her friend how Yoon Ji died, saying, "You said she jumped and was someone chasing her?" to which her friend replies that Yoonji simply went up and jumped. As Soo-jin says she's heading back, her friend adds, "Some people just can't stand seeing others happy." Soo-jin turns to her, and the friend continues, "You and Yoonji were especially mean." Soo-jin asks what she means, but her friend quickly brushes it off, saying she's just rambling. Later, Soo-jin takes the elevator, but when the doors open, the woman is standing right in front of her. Panicked, she quickly presses the button to close the doors, but when the elevator reaches the 8th floor, the woman is there again. As the woman steps into the elevator, Soo-jin dashes out in fear. She rushes to her apartment and tries to unlock the door, but the code doesn't work. As the woman moves closer, Soo-jin runs toward the stairwell, only to find the woman already standing there as well. Soo-jin tries to escape to the rooftop, but the door is locked, and when she turns around in fear, the woman has vanished. Soo-jin runs out of the building and hides behind a wall, quickly pulling out her phone to call for help. But the woman suddenly grabs her by the hair and starts climbing up the wall of the building, pulling Soo-jin with her. Soo-jin screams in terror, struggling helplessly as they ascend. And when they reach the top, the woman pauses, looks her in the eyes, and says, "It's me." Soo-jin realizes the woman is Hyunju, and Hyunju lets go, causing Soo-jin to fall to the ground, dying on impact. Next, Hyunju enters Soo-jin's apartment, and looking at a photo, she says coldly, "You're next. You just wait." In the next story, a patient tells Chun he's feeling intense pain, as if something is poking him. Chun checks his mouth but finds nothing unusual. While reviewing the X-ray, he spots a strange white area and asks if he has a history of nerve issues, but the man says no. Chun then advises a deeper investigation and asks him to book a follow-up appointment. That evening, as Chun is about to close the clinic, he notices something strange in the sink, and as he lifts the drain plug, he finds it filled with writhing worms. He examines the X-ray again and discovers that the worms are the source of the patient's pain. The next day, at the library, he reads about the toothworm, a parasite that once lived near the teeth, then rapidly spread to the organs and brain. Though believed to be completely eradicated, records trace its first exposure to the Kaesong Clinic in 1940, founded by foreign missionaries. Testimony suggests a secret experiment may have occurred in the clinic's basement, but no solid evidence has ever been found. Later, the terrified Chun injects the patient with painkillers, temporarily easing his pain. He then asks if any family members or acquaintances have shown similar symptoms, but the patient shakes his head. Nervously, Chun picks up a scalpel and, with trembling hands, moves toward the patient's mouth. He makes an incision on the gums and quickly grabs a pair of tweezers, and as he opens the gum tissue, he discovers numerous toothworms crawling inside. He pulls some of them out with shaky hands